Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. How you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Roll with the topic, sorta like the rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
You heard him. What's good, War Room family? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan. My brothers Jimmy the Blueprint, B. Austin are both out traveling the globe, but no sweat, no fear. I'm joined today by my football brother. We got Fred Perdue in the building, my quick slants and cover 2 co-hosts. What up, Fred? What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? You know, it's always good to be available. You never know when your number's going to get called.
Right, man. They always say that about great players, man. Availability, the most important ability. You got to be available. All right, so quick before we get started. So, Fred, I'll catch you up on all things in the world of sports. And most importantly, since I got him in the building, you know, we're going to break into a quick slant segment a little later on in the show, probably in the second hour. In that segment, we're going to talk about the sights and sounds of college football media days that just passed. So keep it locked right here with your boys for the next 2 hours. And if you want to get in on the conversation, all you got to do is sign in right now to the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/War Room. Or you can join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also hit us directly in about 5 minutes when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline. As usual, it's 323-410-0012. And I'm going to let you guys know this now, and I'll probably remind you a little bit later in the show. You know, if you're calling, if you want to talk about everything in sports, if you want to talk about hoops, NFL, anything like that, we got to try to get those calls out of the way in the first hour of the show. So all you latecomers, man, we're not going to be able to answer that call later in the show because later in the show we'll be talking strictly college football. So if you're going to call in with some college football questions, that's no sweat. But we can't be, you know, in our quick slant segment talking about Kawhi Leonard and stuff like that. We're not going to do it. We can't do it. So get those calls in as early as you can. Again, 323-410-0012. Before we get started, make sure that during the week when we're not live on the air, you check out archive episodes of our show and the other shows on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. You can do that at the hub, warroomsports.com, the War Room Sports mobile app, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a whole lot of places. Wherever you do your podcast listening, we are sure to be there. But while we're talking podcast network, shout out to the shows on the network besides our show, The War Room. Definitely got to give a shout out to my co-host tonight, Fred. He's the host of 2 shows on the network. He's our football guru around here. So, you know, we got cover 2 for the NFL fan. We got quick slants for the college football fan. Shout out to the Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris. Check them out live. If you're in Philly, check them out live on South Street this weekend at the Philly Pod Festival. Jimmy the Blueprint, War Room's own Jimmy the Blueprint, will be joining them during that live podcasting session. And like I told you guys last week, Roy and Chris said, if you heard it on their show, if you heard it on our show, go and ask those guys to buy you a beer after the podcast, and they will do just that. Shout out to After Further Review with the Mayor. Shout out to the Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Podcast. Savad and Phil, what up? And one more shout out to Roy Burton and his wife Chanel for all you foodies out there with John Appetit. Check that out if you want to know what you should be eating, where you should be eating, all around the country, sometimes all around the globe. But we're going to get into it now. Fred, what up, man? I know it's been a crazy week out there. It's always a crazy week before we, you know, embark on another show. I'm pretty sure your social media timeline was filled with photos of elderly folks this week.
Yeah, it was. I wondered How many people are in the nursing home already, man? I mean,
Right.
it's bad. It's bad. I got real tempted to do it, but
Yeah, that's the funny
hold
thing.
on.
I'm like, I don't really want to play the game, and it wasn't for all the fears people out there. Oh, you're giving your information to Russia and this and that. I mean, Putin. I'm not important enough to be worried about stuff like that. But I was tempted. I kind of wanted to know, but I didn't bite. But luckily, I always got some people who are jokesters with my photos anyway. They done already made one of my photos into like a bald guy, like half George Jefferson looking dude. Somebody sent me the exact same photo. They gave me my hair back, but they made me an old guy. So I kind of got to know what it looked like, and I didn't have to join the app. I didn't have to, post it myself. But it's funny. It's the newest trend. The first one I saw is actually a battle rapper. He's been a guest on the show before. His name is DNA. I saw a photo of him, and I'm like, damn, DNA looked like he had a hard life, like he aging. And that's before I knew that, this whole face app trend was going on.
Yeah, that was me too.
So then I started to see more people. I'm like, oh, this must be something. And then I started seeing the status posts when people talking about Russia and giving your information away. My whole thing to that, I'm like, look, if you have a Facebook page, if you have an Instagram page, if you have a Twitter page, you've already given thousands of your photos to who knows what, who knows where. So let's not be afraid now. So let these people have
you could be, it's bad enough you have your phone in your hand. Your phone listens to you. I mean, if you.
Right, exactly.
If you just go search Amazon or something one day and just talk about something and see how many ads you get about that same thing you talked about maybe 15 minutes later.
Shoot, these days they got software. It seems like it damn near know what you think. Just think about a product, and the next time you go to Facebook, they're gonna be advertising that product to you. So yeah, we're already cooked as far as Skynet and what the robots are gonna do to us one day. So let these people have their old folks fun. Who cares about Russia and the app and all of that kind of stuff? All right, well, let's get into some hot topics real quick because we want to get all of this other stuff out of the way before we go into quick slants and talk that college football. So hot topics are brought to you by MyBookie. Real quick, War Room Nation. Let's talk real quick about how much cash you can make betting on sports at MyBookie. Sports is a 365-day thing, so if you still haven't checked out MyBookie, I don't know what you're waiting for. Lay down some cash on the biggest games in sports. Join us, the War Room, and thousands of other online players placing bets at mybookie.ag. You tired of getting the runaround from those other services when it's time for a payout? That's why we urge you to join MyBookie. You win, they pay, fast, without any hassles. Basically wasting your time betting anywhere else. They even have in-game live betting so you can place wagers after the game starts. I'm not a degenerate gambler, so I really don't know how that works, but they do it. So that's crazy.
Oh, I know how that works. I love how that works. Yeah, I love how that works. You can explain that to me right after this. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit up to $1,000. Just use the promo code WARROOM, all caps, WARROOM, to activate this offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. Play, win, get paid, period. You can also go to our website and just click on that and do it straight from there. But anyway, so Fred, how does that work? How do you place a bet after the game? Because I know a lot of dudes who would probably like to do that kind of stuff. People who change their mind on everything every 5 minutes. So if a team takes a lead, they probably want to change everything they're doing. So how do you place a lead? So live betting is this new thing where it's almost like hedging your bet. You can wait a little bit. I do it for college football games all the time, especially teams that are supposed to blow somebody out and then they're definitely not blowing anybody out. It's a great advantage. The payouts aren't as good, and quite honestly, it's not unless you're dropping huge amounts of cash. It really doesn't help you much. But if you want to bet on the second half of a game that you're a little bit worried about, you can throw that second half bet in. A lot of times for me, when I do it, it's more so for like a long shot type of deal. I know something's going to be crazy. I feel like there's an upset there, but there's not. I'm not super confident about it, so I want to see a first quarter. After the first quarter, okay, the adrenaline's gone. Okay, let's see what happens. And let's say your favorite team is
whooping up on Alabama for a quarter and no one expected it. Then I'll drop that little bit of cash on it. It's a fun thing to do. It's a nice experiment, but you lose more than you win because all those betting numbers, they don't really take into account that a lot of times games there's this thing called momentum. There's this thing called really good athletes, and the human element takes over at some point.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking, like, can I go on there and, like, bet who's going to score the next 10 points? Bet on a basketball game or who's going to have the next big run or something like that?
No, it doesn't work like that. It's more so point spreads. It's about point spreads. So, like, you can say the point spreads will move up and down throughout the game based on maybe a score, a team driving constantly up and down the field, and they're just scoring back and forth. The point spreads will change, and you can kind of bet on dynamic point spreads. That's really all it is.
Okay, cool. Now I understand that. All right, so let's get into some NBA stuff early. We all know that the smoke has basically cleared. The dust is starting to settle on this whole NBA free agency period. Kawhi Leonard, the biggest shoe, dropped a little over a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and it seems like even though a lot of moves took place before that, what he did kind of shapes the landscape of the league. The odd man out in all of this movement that happened because of the Kawhi Leonard situation is Chris Paul, who was traded from the Houston Rockets to OKC after Kawhi Leonard took Paul George with him, and the OKC Thunder graciously allowed Russell Westbrook to fly from the nest, trading him to Houston with his old buddy Harden. So Chris Paul being the odd man out, a lot of talk was surrounding whether or not they were going to try to trade him, make him play, or buy him out. I kind of knew that the buyout wasn't really realistic, Fred, because he's owed a whole lot of money. So even if they were to buy him out, they would offer something way less substantial than what he was owed. If I'm Chris Paul at this stage of my career, at this age, making the ridiculous contract money that he's making, there's no way that I would take a buyout. Like I would suffer it out throughout OKC's rebuilding process and just give up on the whole championship chase if they tried to offer me some buyout that was way less than what I was making. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think a lot of fans are mistaken sometimes, because I think athletes are pressured these days. And this is how the super team, quote unquote, super team era started, because fans and media after the Michael Jordan era put so much pressure on superstars to win championships. We're at a time now where these dudes are doing anything to do that. Even if they aren't in a position where they can do anything to do that, when you ask them, they're still going to say what you want to hear. So if we were to ask somebody like Chris Paul right now, what's more important to you, trying to get a championship or trying to get this money, he's going to say the championship. But, you've talked to a lot of these guys behind the scene. I've talked to a lot of these guys behind the scene. We know what's really priority, whether they're going to say it or not. So what would your thoughts be in this situation if it was you? Say, they owe this man a lot of money. Say if they tried to offer him like $40-50 million less on a buyout. Would you take that at this point in your career when it doesn't really look like a lot of people have interest enough to recoup some of that salary for you anyway? Or would you go chase that shit for a lot less
OKC
money?
is going to be if I'm Chris Paul, OKC is a very, very boring place. There's not a lot to do, but by my count, $129 or so million. I'm sorry, $123 million to be exact. That's a lot of. That's a big chunk of change to leave on the. And they're gonna say, let's say they offer me $50 million less. Nah, that's a lot. That's generational wealth on top of generational wealth, and it's fully guaranteed. So that means even if you cut me, you still got to pay me. Yeah, I don't want a championship that bad. I'll say I want a championship, but I don't want a championship that bad. I can go buy me a ring that looks like a championship ring. Yeah, $123 million is all. And at the end of the day, he'll be 37. Some team will still pick him up and say, hey, do something come play for minimal money, and you can come off the bench and you can be a starter, or you can be a starting like a starting 6-man type of guy coming off the bench playing starter minutes. You can do that at his age. It's just to be a distributor of the basketball, not a problem, and take minimal money. I mean, a Kawhi Leonard could definitely use you later on in life. 3 years from now, go chase that ring, but right now, go get that money, please.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of those things. He's in a position where this is his last hurrah as far as big contracts go, and his contract is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of players, with him being the president of the Players Association, there's a lot of players in the league who really dislike his reign as president because they think that he only kind of catered to the interests of the top guys in the league. A lot of them go as far as to say the quote-unquote Banana Bunch group. Like, he just looked out for his boys, because they were some of the best players in the league. They say he doesn't really take care of the middle class and the lower class of the NBA. Like, what does this sound like? Are they calling my man Chris Trump? like is he Chris Trump out here? So a lot of players have disdain for him because of that, because there's only a select few that are top players in the NBA who are going to benefit from the Supermax and, your 10-year max, everything that you can get with these
with those super crazy contracts. Yeah.
So a lot of people are a little upset about that. So Chris Paul, being his age, where he is in his career, he's right there. So he's benefiting off the fight that he led. So for me, I'm like, there's no way that this man's going to take any kind of pay cut or a buyout to go chase a chip. But you never know. Sometimes people might think, hey, I got enough money.
And see, for me, I think when I look at it, he's not going to the Lakers. Where are you going? Because at the end of the day, you have as many people say, oh, there's a lot of dynamic duos, and now the NBA has gone back to the way it was in the 90s, and there's no more super teams. Yeah, about that. The Lakers are about to become a super team at some point. They get one more free agency run. I mean, you have a chance. And
I was about to say, Fred, really, the Lakers are a fully healed Achilles away from being a super team. If Boogie comes back,
exactly
80% of what Boogie was before that Achilles, that's going to be the pickup of the year. Like, I've been praising that pickup ever since they made it, because there's not much risk there. You're getting Boogie at like almost $3.5 million, and he could be fully back to, we haven't seen it that much with these injuries, but he could be back to the Boogie. He won't put up these numbers because of who he's playing with, but he could be back to 25 and 12 Boogie. He's not going to put those numbers up because of who he's playing with, but the threat would be there.
And on any given night when LeBron says, I don't want to play tonight,
exactly,
you still have your front court is just going to be silly. I mean, you're just going to bully people down low, and it's over with. I mean, and you know how nowadays the bigs don't. These bigs here, they have an inside-outside type of deal, so they're not going to clog up anything. They know how to play together. They played together before, so this is a better version of the Pelicans. Honestly, if you really think about it.
Right, because they got Rondo. It's the Pelicans with LeBron, pretty much, and you can't be mad at that. But no, you made a great point though, because if Boogie comes back fully healthy and he's back to being top 2 or 3 bigs in the league, then on load management nights for this team, it's going to be crazy. Because if AD and Bron wants to sit out, then Boogie can put the team on his back. If Boogie and Bron wants to sit out, AD can put the team on his back. Those other two sit out, LeBron could put the team on his back, and each of those guys will have the help of Kuzma and some other guys out there. So they would have a great situation if they could stay healthy. I don't even believe I'm talking about load management, but it is what it is. That's a part of the league now. I think that's one of the silliest things ever. But like I said, it is what it is. But anyway, the CP3, they have been trying to trade him. That contract is going to be one of the hardest contracts to trade because of the amount that he's owed and because of his age. And those talks have seemed to stall. So everybody's thinking now that he's going to suit up and start the season on the Thunder team, and they might not be able to get a deal done until after, I think, like December 15th, since they didn't get it done now. So at least, look forward to seeing Chris Paul in OKC again. I'll say again because remember when the Hornets were, what was that, after Katrina, when they had to relocate for a little while?
Oklahoma City
they
Hornets.
Played in Oklahoma City. That's why they found out that Oklahoma City was viable, enough for an NBA team, because those fans came out like the Hornets were their own and showed people like, y'all need to give us a team and we will root for them like this every night. So the trade talks have stalled. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out a little later on. Now, speaking of money, somebody on the other side of the spectrum, somebody who's only, in their third NBA season coming up of playing, Ben Simmons from my Philadelphia 76ers, he just got a max deal, 5-year extension for roughly about $170 million, but there's some kickers in there that could take the deal all the way up to about $204 million. That's dependent on him making an All-NBA team. There's some stuff in there about being league MVP, yada, yada, yada.
Things that won't happen? Did you say things aren't going to happen?
Right? Well, I wouldn't say things plural. I think he could have made an All-NBA team. I don't. Yeah, he's not going to be MVP. So that part, I would say, is not going to happen before, or because that has to happen next year before the contract kicks in. That's not going to happen. All-NBA team, I think he'll get some extra money off of that. He went from Rookie of the Year to All-Star. If he comes back with a little semblance of, if he could step back and at least hit a 10-foot jump shot and make that a part of his arsenal, that will make him that much better. So I can see an All-NBA team in the future. But do you think, this is the question of the week as far as this is concerned, do you think this was a good deal by the Sixers to lock him up this early?
I'm always on when it comes to contracts, I've always been on the other end of things where I'm on the team side because I love the business of sports, not necessarily just throwing money at players. It doesn't matter, what they look like, who they are. I don't care if they're my favorite player, my most hated player. A lot of times I'm about team building, and a lot of times you just can't build a team when you give money like this. But the NBA, you can throw money around at any point. So I don't mind it because he's going to be your franchise player. He's not going anywhere for at least for the foreseeable future. I don't understand where this team is going still. They've always had like a big lineup still. I just don't see where it's going. But if you have to, it's a star-driven league, so you have to keep your stars to keep butts in seats and at least have a chance. And the East is kind of open again. So,
yeah, even from a team perspective, like to lock them up early, there's not even a player option in that 5th season. So there is a 15% trade kicker, so he has that power, but he doesn't have the power to opt out. I guess in today's NBA, you don't need it. You just say, I want out, and you force their hand somehow, no matter how many years you got left on your contract.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Rich Paul and Clutch Sports will at some point force Ben Simmons out of this deal. But I think it was great to get it done now because this is not a Chris Paul situation. This deal, even if Ben Simmons, because everybody goes for the low-hanging fruit. Everybody talks about, Ben Simmons can't shoot. He doesn't have a jump shot. Let's say Ben Simmons never, in the 5 years or however many, first 3 years of this deal, never comes back with a jump shot, or it's just not improved enough to think that anything's worth it. He's still on the younger side of his career, and he still has a lot of other attributes in his game. So this deal, this contract, will be tradable for the lifetime of this contract. Whereas you pay a guy as old as Chris Paul, you kind of stuck with it. because it's very hard to get rid of a 37, almost 40-year-old player making $40-something million in the last few years of the deal. You know what I'm saying? So, and shout out to Skyview in the chat room. He said my Sixers overpaid. That cat wants to be in LA. That's the thing. See, people say stuff like that. There's no such thing as overpaying at this point in the career. Max player is a max player. If he didn't get it there, he would get it somewhere else.
He would get it somewhere else.
If he wants to be in LA, then he shouldn't have signed a 5-year deal. But if he does want to be in LA at some point and they force him out, hey, the Sixers are just going to have to milk LA for everything they can to get that done. If they want to send him where he wants to be, or they could trade him somewhere else. So, if it ends that way, it ends that way. But it might be the Sixers who end up saying, okay, we've gotten everything out of Ben Simmons that we have in a few years into this deal, everything that we needed or everything that we can. And they end up trading him. But there's no such thing as overpaying on your first deal. Like, certain players are going to get the max no matter where they are.
This isn't the NFL where you have to.
Like, there's no negotiating in that. He's going to get the max.
Yeah.
Period.
This isn't the NFL where you have and I know we'll probably talk about this later, and you can kind of tie it in. This isn't how you have a Zeke or Dak Prescott situation where the team, where you have a whole bunch of leverage on one side and their careers are short. NBA players can play for almost 20 years now. I mean, in the NFL,
that's why you got cats like Chris Paul making $40-something million going into his 80,000th year. Like, it's crazy out here.
I would rather my team suck every year and just keep accumulating really decent players in the top half of the draft every year than pay a player what Chris Paul is making. I would rather never and I know I'm kind of going off a little bit, but I'm a Miami Heat fan, and as much as I wouldn't have paid Jimmy Butler what they paid him, he's not worth that contract. I'd rather go get lottery pick after lottery pick, and just deal with it, because at some point you're going to hit, and you take that approach of a ton of draft picks they hit at some point, and we just hit on somebody versus paying a 30-year-old player, and by the time same thing with Chris Paul, you're going to be paying a guy 30 plus when he's 34 years old, and it's just not worth it.
Right, and Jimmy, you using Jimmy Butler, that's kind of the perfect example of just certain players are designated as max players. So anywhere Jimmy ended up, he was going to get the max. You're just saying, I'd rather that not be with my team.
Right.
But anywhere he goes, he was going to get the max. There's not much negotiation in this kind of stuff. When you're negotiating a Ben Simmons at 24 years old, all you're negotiating is options, trade kickers, and bonuses for achievements. Everything else is already set.
It's give and take at that point. It's give and take.
You can't overpay and you can't underpay, because nobody's taking that. Nobody's going to get underpaid when they can make a certain amount of money. So that's we'll see how everything plays out. We'll see if he ends up being there for the full 5 years of that extension. There's been rumors floating around. Now, I thought it was weird from the moment the Golden State Warriors traded for D'Angelo Russell, but we knew they had to do something. They had to get something in return for losing Kevin Durant, and the fact that they were able to do a sign and trade. It's best to get the best assets you can get back from the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think he fits, and I'm thinking, he's just temporary until Klay comes back, because when Klay comes back, even though D'Angelo is an all-star, I'm like, how you gonna have a lineup of Steph, Klay, Draymond? Like, that's a tiny lineup as is, because Draymond's already playing, big positions, and he's damn near no taller than Klay Thompson. So I didn't think it was a fit, and there's already rumors that they may try to trade D'Angelo Russell to Cleveland for Kevin Love. You think Kevin Love would be a better fit in Golden State than D'Angelo Russell? I mean, it's almost.
If you want him to stand in the corner and do absolutely nothing but shoot threes, or sit 15, 18 feet away from the bucket and just occasionally be a post up guy or a spot up shooter, sure. Does it fit what they do? Yeah,
No, see, but
do I trust
Fred,
Kevin Love? No.
You're talking about LeBron James, Kevin Love. That wasn't what Kevin Love was before he played with LeBron.
True.
But when you're a big man and you play with LeBron, you have to do that. You have to sacrifice. You have to get out of the way. They turned Bosh into a spot-up shooter. Bosh was giving dudes 24 and 12, 24 and 11 before he joined up with the Heat. And then they turned him into a third fiddle who gets his legacy gets crapped on because, he was Bron and Wade's understudy damn near.
They said it would be the big three, but it was Wade and LeBron at some point, and Bosh was an afterthought. Yeah.
Plus, spreading the floor, standing around the perimeter. That's what they do in basketball these days. But I think Kevin Love would have a chance to be something different and kind of go back to what he was pre-Cleveland if this trade went through. Of course, Golden State, Bob Myers, the GM of Golden State, is denying that there's anything going on. He said, everybody already has him traded, but we're going to sit around. We're going to pretty much see what we have
how to play the game.
before anything happens. Yeah, that just means he's going to get traded. he's just trying
D'Angelo knows.
Yeah, D'Angelo knew right off. He's like, I'm just here because they needed to get something back for KD. I think it would be a great trade for Golden State. I think D'Angelo Russell would be like, how the hell did I end up in Cleveland?
If I was D'Angelo Russell, I would
coming Brooklyn team.
I would literally say to myself, what did I do to deserve this? Because for all intents and purposes, if you really think about it, he finally shook the bad juju he had from being with those Laker teams with Nick Young and people look at him as a decent player now. Yeah, dry snitching. Yeah. I mean, even if the old boy was doing he was doing some shady stuff, but you just don't snitch on your boys like. Yeah, stay out that man's business. But, he finally shook that, and finally, just when he got a chance to turn things around in public eye, now I got to go to Cleveland? Like, no one wants to play in Cleveland. No one wants to play in Cleveland. That's the situation where you force your hand and say, I won't play. I won't retire, but I won't play either. I'm not going to give you 100%. No, not at all. A backcourt of Colin Sexton and D'Angelo Russell.
Right. I mean, they keep drafting ball handlers. Colin Sexton is probably already offended because of the people that they drafted a few weeks ago. But before we get into some NFL conversation, we got some calls on the line. So I see the homie Rob calling from Cali. Rob, what's going on?
My favorite troll.
What up, Rob? You better hurry up.
Yo, give me a call back in a second. I'll call you back in a second.
Yo, did you tell us to call you back?
Yeah.
Man, he said, give me a call back. Man, we got Tobias on the line calling in from Arizona. What up, Tobias?
Roll damn Tide, bro.
Roll damn Tide.
How you have me wait behind him, man? I thought we had an arrangement here.
he beat you to the punch this week, man. He knew that was racing. Yo, he said call him back, man.
Hey, man. All right, before
Fred gonna have to call him back.
Touch this basketball thing real quick before I get on my football stuff, right? All right. I do believe if Golden State trades for Kevin Love, that's insurance for if and when they don't offer Draymond the max. Because I always thought the guy was overrated, vastly overrated. But he's even gotten worse. Draymond's gotten worse over the years. So do you want to pay that guy $30-some million? Or you'll say, hey, we had a hell of a run with you. We'll go with Kevin Love, who could play out the post and can shoot the perimeter jumper and rebound. I'd rather pay that, and he actually makes less than what he had to pay Draymond. It's just something to think about there.
You have very interesting points, sir. I didn't think about it like that. That team would look so much different now. I mean, I'm used to seeing KD and I mean everyone that's a Golden State fan, they want to see Draymond. He's kind of like Steph. They want him to be a legacy guy at this point. They drafted him. They want him to stay there. You really think they're gonna break the band up like that?
Would you pay him $30+ million a year?
No.
You don't want to. Some organizations might feel like, oh, we owe him. Don't put me in the front office because I don't owe anybody nothing. I'll be one of those cutthroat DMs.
I already said I want to get rid of Tom Brady, so if I'm willing to get rid of I'm ready to get rid of Tom Brady. I don't want to pay him. So if I'm not willing to keep Tom Brady, nobody's safe.
Right. Look at it this way, Fred. Fred was right about Brady. Imagine you got rid of Brady and we got the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo out there, who somehow is a superstar quarterback who hasn't played much. That boggles my mind, But dude hasn't even made it to the trade deadline yet, but he's supposed to be a superstar quarterback. But one thing I get before I get on football, load management. That's how you put that in the group on the page. That's worse than tanking, because load management is pretty much saying you ain't trying to win that night anyway. And you're raising your ticket prices. These games are going for $200 to $300 a pop before you on these lower level seats in a lot of these arenas. And you saying,
that's just on the first level. That's not even on the floor or nothing.
Yes. Heard you coming off an injury. They get a week off after the All-Star break. Cool. Because Major League Baseball has a little break. Then you don't have many more back-to-backs like you used to. You don't have the 4 games in 5 nights. And you're still going to sit out because you want to rest and chill? After a while, it's like, come the hell on. Are you guys going to play? You got all these breaks. And I think that is going to mess with fans a lot also, because you can take tanking all you want. They ain't showing the Chicago Bulls or the Memphis Grizzlies anyway. The Phoenix Suns. They ain't on TV. But you got like last year, LeBron came off the groin, played against the Clippers, but sat out a national TV game against the Golden State Warriors on Saturday night. And the NBA and like Turner and ESPN, ABC gave the NBA billions of dollars, and you can't even put the damn star players on? You can't tell them that those networks aren't mad about that.
I think it's the amount of games they play, because the games don't matter. I look at it like, for me as a NBA fan, I watch my team, but as far as the league as a whole, I don't watch the rest of the league all 82 games. I watch probably around All-Star weekend time. That's when I really lock in. Same thing with baseball. There's so many games right around the home run derby and the All-Star game. That's when I really lock in, because all the other games to me, they just don't matter. That's the team's way of getting their lineups correct, and they're trying to experiment.
The bad thing
they're not taking it seriously.
Now the teams and players are starting to think like that. The thought of casual basketball fan. Dudes like me, like I'm watching hoops every day on League Pass, small market teams on the middle of a Tuesday night. And that's not even the case, though, because now, like, this whole load management thing used to start. I sit them out against the team. Now you got national TV matchups that ESPN or TNT have been promoting for weeks come up, and dudes like, no, I'm load management. The regular season doesn't mean a thing. Now, for me, because the question was referring to it, whether load management was worse than tanking, and I agree with Tobias that load management is worse because, tanking. And I'm an expert on this. When the 76ers went to 4 years, but here's my thoughts to the team, and this was my part. Okay, while you're doing that, don't expect me to buy any tickets. Expect me to have any season ticket plans, partial season ticket plans. Don't expect me to buy any paraphernalia. So do what you're doing, but I will not financially support you. Now, on the other hand, load management, you got stars who are sitting out of games. I've been a fan who's traveled across the country to see a certain player play. Like, when LeBron first came to the league, I saw LeBron in at least 5-6 different cities, right? Now, imagine if that was a thing back then. And I'm flying out to places, and I get there, and when you fly out to places, you got to get tickets. You don't fly to another to sit in the nosebleeds. So you're paying, a couple $100 for some seats. You go by yourself, so that's $40 a week. Get there and you're sit in the room close. Like, that's not cool. That's cool. I think it's much worse than thinking, because tanking is just not paying attention to this garbage team that's tanking. Not give them any, financial resources. They're not going to come on TV. So, yeah. Am I breaking up?
Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah,
you're breaking up, man. Yeah, you breaking up.
I was gonna say you might be on load management real quick, because you
more cold over here.
Yeah, for real. You tanking, you got load management going on. Tobias, take it away. Let this man get his whole team together real quick.
I was gonna say this. I gotta get on this football thing real quick. I'll make these quick. Like, I know Alabama's at the media days, and all these people talking about Dabo Swinney past Nick Saban, kind of coaching turnover and all that. That what makes Nick Saban the GOAT of college football. Losing coaches every year and still be up there in the most competitive conference in the country. Here's the thing also. Dabo ain't lost no coaches yet. Let's see how he does when he starts losing coaches. Let's see how he does in Miami and Florida State and Virginia Tech get their acts together. Because right now, remember, Georgia, Kirby Smart only been there 3 years. He already lost his offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator in the same season. It happens. So we got it. And plus, everybody like Alabama just became Alabama State or Alabama A&M around here. They still going to mow through the SEC. And hopefully, unlike last
and you already got
game,
the easiest schedule in the SEC. Let's not forget that. I got to throw some kind of shade at you.
Yeah. Hey, it's crazy, though, like that Duke game. I've been pissed about that. But every year they have Florida State number 3 in the country, 6-6. Michigan was top 25 one year. They fell off the map. Like, when it's non-conference, in most cases, you can't do nothing about that. But, like, this year was rough. I'm like, why the hell you playing Duke? But I got to get on this NFL real quick. You see these running backs holding out and stuff. Now, I know Fred not big on drafting running backs in the first round, right? But all I say is that if finding a running back is so easy, how the can't find one? Because ain't nobody drafting Peyton Barber in a fantasy league. And we got the running back, Ronald Jones, supposed to be fast, but he can't catch. But my thing with running backs, though, people, like, the greatest I ever told, like, the New England Patriots never Tom Brady throw all over the place. The Patriots always had team building, right? They always had a good running game. People forgot Corey Dillon was playing there at one point, and Corey Dillon's one of the best backs in football. Sonny Michel's a good player. They always ran the ball. They always worked inside out. They didn't have, like Tampa, right? We got all these weapons. Who gives a damn about your weapons if you can't block the man in front of you, you can't stop nobody?
Hello.
You can't run the ball. Those weapons mean nothing. And the Patriots,
boys up front,
like them, the Eagles, the Cowboys, they built their teams right where you got a mediocre quarterback like Dak Prescott gonna make $1 million because the team's built well.
Hey, even that line in Dallas is starting to age a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
not what it once was. Let's talk about. We were got to go into some NFL stuff anyway. So while we got Tobias on the phone, before he got to run, I wanted to ask both of you
cool.
guys.
I got a minute.
All right, this whole Dak and Zeke contract situation. Let's talk about it, because I'm even hearing, and this is crazy because I usually don't. I'm gonna give y'all some props, but of course I'm gonna do it backhanded, Cowboys fans. I've been hearing Cowboys fans talk intelligently about these contract situations. Usually Cowboys fans are like, pay the man. No matter who it is on their team, they think that person is better than everybody else at the position. I've heard Cowboys fans say, first of all, that they're mad at Philly for giving Carson Wentz what they gave him, because now they think they're going to have to give the same thing to Dak. First of all, I just kind of ignore that talk anyway, because I don't care what you say. And it might be about whether you complete seasons or not, but Carson Wentz is better than Dak. So he deserves to be paid more than Dak. And I've actually heard people, and this was even more surprising, I've heard people say, man, go ahead and get rid of Zeke. We can't afford to pay Dak, Zeke, and Amari and some other people. We need to pay some other people. Like, they're talking intelligently about their team. I heard somebody that usually doesn't talk this way tell me that, we have more important positions to pay, let Zeke go. For the last couple of years, the Cowboys was like, Zeke the freak. We got Zeke the man. Have y'all heard this, or have I just been bumped to another dimension, a different reality?
Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I've actually heard the whole let's trade Zeke thing, and actually I was actually one of the few people that when this whole thing came out, like I said this last year, like trade him way before now, because I don't want Zeke is the one guy in the NFL. If his name was Tyreek Hill right now, he'd be out of the league. If his name was Josh Gordon, he'd be out of the league for all of the silly, stupid stuff that he gets away with. By the way, he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, and I know you guys can't see these air quotes, but America's team, and we know how that goes. It's not good for business. But if you were the Cowboys, why pay a running back? And you know how I feel about running backs. Don't pay them big money. I don't care if his name's Barry Sanders. I don't care if his name's Walter Payton. Don't pay him big money. You can go find another one, especially with that offensive line. Don't pay Dak either. That I have to preface that too. By the way, perfect
let
trade
Dak roll out too?
Yeah, let Dak roll too. Do you really want to be stuck with Dak, and then you're stuck at number 15 to 18 in the draft every year because you're now going to be out in the first round, or right at 8 and 8 every year? Do you really want to be stuck there? Just saying.
Do you guys think that? Do you believe in the ideology that Dak Prescott is far inferior when he's playing without Ezekiel Elliott?
Here's the problem.
Here's the
problem with Dak, and I watch, being an SEC guy, I watched Dak all 4 years. He is, and this is why I hate this is why people got to understand, quarterback win-loss record is not a real stat, because football is the ultimate team sport.
Exactly.
So, hey, if you want to trade Zeke, we'll take him in Tampa, because like I said before, how the hell we can't have a running back? We got Peyton Barber.
He's been slamming Peyton Barber.
You want Cadillac Williams all over again? You really want to do that?
Hey, at least Cadillac had a good run, no pun intended. But here's the thing: if you go sign a running back, front load the contract to get those couple years out of, you can let him go. Because basically, he's doing like Zeke is young. But I would trade him. I'll take him in Tampa because get rid of Dak. Jameis Winston may be available the way Bucs fans want to get rid of him. They are like he's Rick Meyer. And then we can find some other schmuck to put behind the worst offensive line, one of the bottom 5 offensive lines, worst running game, and the worst defensive set to turn water into wine. But anyway, but the thing is, though, you got to be smart here because Jerry Jones is not a big believer in Dak. He wanted Toto to come back because he knew Dak Prescott is limited.
Yeah.
With that, and
because everybody compares, statistics between Wentz and Dak.
Romo didn't have
not even just the PERS. A lot of them are the cumulative stats, and people don't realize if your knock on Carson Wentz is that he doesn't complete seasons, then you shouldn't be all excited about Dak for having the same cumulative stats as a man who doesn't even finish seasons.
But you know what though, the Eagles front office always give them credit. They did the smart thing by locking up Wentz now, instead of waiting. Because if you wait, you had to pay more money. And so
the Eagles have always had a history.
Jerry Jones didn't believe him.
Yeah, they always had a history of locking up younger players early and
them out the way,
getting rid of older players before their play actually starts to decline. Like the city will be down on them, like, oh man, why would you get rid of him? And then when he plays on the next team, he stinks, and you're like, wow, I'm glad they got rid of him.
If the Cowboys are smart, they get this deal done before Mr. Mahomes out in Kansas City gets that $200 million deal that we're going to see. You might want to get that deal done ASAP because
but even if he gets that, do you think Dak has any leg to stand on if he tries to use Patrick Mahomes as his?
Because the Cowboys have because the Cowboys not going to be in a spot in the draft to get one of the big three unless they trade half they draft pick. And that's the problem there because Tua, Fromm, and Herbert going to be going top 5. Trevor Lawrence be the year after that, and team's going to tank for him, so they don't have ain't nobody trading picks that year for that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the thing is, Dallas should have torn up that contract early and just gave him some money then. And just roll with the punches to let him go.
They should have hit him with the Andy Dalton deal. You put a lot of performance enhancers in it, knowing that he's not going to hit 4,000, 5,000 yards and 40, 45 touchdowns. You know he's not going to touch it. And if he does touch it, that means you're probably winning a Super Bowl. So I'll be okay with giving him that money if you're winning Super Bowl.
Can I ask you guys a question, though? How the hell can you be $30 million a year and you went half the year without throwing over 200 yards in a game in a league where you can't touch a receiver?
For me, I look at it and I say to myself, on a team where you have arguably the best offensive line in football, the running back is coming back where teams are running the ball more and more, and all of your success comes off of this running game, and you still struggle. Not only to throw the ball, not everybody in the league can throw that in the middle of the field. Everybody can do that because you have plays designed for this. But for me, when I look at the fact that you can't throw down the
tight ends are the so important.
They're
in the
safety
game,
blanket, yeah. But you can't throw down the field, up the sidelines. I mean, you have Amari Cooper now. I'm still, the verdict is still out on that because he did it for 1 year. I want to see him do it more than 1 year. I want to see more, but I don't know. Dak, I can give you 12 quarterbacks, maybe 15 that are better than Dak. And if I can do that, I don't need to give you 30+ million.
You know, and I got to speak on one quarterback, and I've been on this guy. I don't like the hype around Baker Mayfield is unreal for a team for a team that for a quarterback. I know he was a rookie, but only beat one winning team. That was Joe Flacco's team. He got bent for a wishbone quarterback. He didn't even beat no good teams last year, but yet we're like, hey, this guy, here's a second coming. We love his personality, but let a brother see what happens.
We're not gonna go there, Tobias. We're not going there.
No.
Hey, we already there. But the problem is that they are setting this team up to fail. Well, for first-year head coach last year, Freddie Hot played kitchen in Alabama. He was fat in college also. But anyway,
they setting themselves up with all the talk.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, I'm like, that's so young. The schedule gets tougher, and I remember they go in the prime time game. You really think Bill Belichick will let a short quarterback who's stocky, who can't see over defense, who can't do nothing to come in your face, is going to do him? And you got Odell Beckham. What if he doesn't get the ball? What? Kareem Hunt got in trouble again. What if they don't let him come back? Or here's a novel concept. There's a little thing called tape.
I'm just putting it out there, looking at their schedule right now. They're on the road at Baltimore, Seattle. They have on the road at Baltimore at the end of September, and then they get a run of Seattle, New England, Denver, and Buffalo. Those are some damn good defenses. Good luck.
Yeah. We'll see, man. There's a lot of expectations for the Browns this year, and as it inches closer on this show and on Cover 2, we'll talk about our predictions for the year, see if we believe in the hype. But yeah, right now it is what it is. It's just talk. It's just hype. We'll see if they can do something. And Skyview said Tobias pause for one of them comments you made. I know exactly the one he's talking about, but I was just going to keep quiet.
Who talking about Jimmy G?
You lucky you got me.
Out for the year?
Yeah, you're lucky you got me tonight because Jimmy and B. Austin would have never let you live on that. Now, you said something about Baker Mayfield coming in your face.
But
we're gonna roll on, man. As usual, we appreciate the call. We holler at you next week. It's pretty much got a segment, man. It's a weekly segment. It's called Let's Be Honest Here. So that's been this week's segment of Let's Be Honest Here. We'll holler at you, man. All right, so this whole Cowboys situation. I wonder if the front office is going to be as smart as some of the fans that I've talked to. I was just pleasantly surprised that you're able to talk objective football with Cowboys fans. Like it was very refreshing. Ezekiel might be in trouble again because now the security guard from Vegas, is pressing charges. He didn't like that the NFL didn't give him any punishment, and he thought that the apology from Zeke wasn't really sincere. So now he's pressing charges. So now there's an investigation opened back up about that whole Zeke situation. So he might be back in trouble. There's a situation where he could end up being suspended, missing some games. And this is what people fear. Like Zeke hasn't been, he hasn't had any major injuries, but he just keeps getting into things that's jeopardizing his time on the field. And I think a lot of people are starting to wonder if it's worth it in the end. So we shall see. So before we move on, let's just do the quote of the week, man. The quote of the week comes from your man, Dwight Howard. He did a sit-down with Christine Leahy on her show. I forgot what it's called, a little YouTube joint that she does. I haven't watched the whole interview yet, but supposedly he opened up a little bit about the rumors of him being gay. He told her, quote, "I'm not gay. It hurt at first to go through it," the rumors he's talking about. He said, "I sat at home and I was like, I never want to come outside again." Now, that was the quote. I'm thinking if what people are saying isn't true, then how do you feel like that? You know what I'm saying? I think the reason you felt like that is because the proof that this person, the receipts that this person brought to the table in the form of conversations, I think he knows that he looks, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's your thing, that's your thing. But he looks guilty. And he goes on to say, he spent a lot of months reflecting on his life after the allegations went public. And he was basically saying it upset me because I didn't even know who the person was. Why would somebody who I've never met, never had any contact with, make up a whole story about me? And I'm like, Dwight, did you forget that there were recorded conversations? Like, so it's kind of difficult for you to play the somebody I've never met card at this point in the game when we heard you talking to this person and when they were saying these quote-unquote damaging things, he wasn't exactly denying it. He just seemed to be on the phone trying to play dumb and talking codes on the just in case. I don't think he did a very good job of it, but it seems weird to me, and I don't really care to talk long about this man's sexuality or whatever, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. Be yourself. Be who you are. What is it going to change? That's my question. You got any thoughts on this, Fred?
Yeah, I echo you, man. I don't really have much of anything on this one because, quite honestly, I don't care about this man's sexuality. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that really that wasn't the one thing that caught my eye in that conversation. I got a chance to really sit down and kind of pick apart that conversation. That wasn't the part that concerned me. It was the part about Kobe calling him soft, and he only now realizing why.
That sounded stupid too.
It's like you did like he's not talking about you as a person.
Like, did you really think Kobe was talking about I bumped into the guy and he felt like the Pillsbury Doughboy? What did you think he was talking about? I'm just now realizing he was talking about my edge, my mentality. Dude, you can't be serious right now.
Yeah.
You really can't be serious right now.
I think now it's more he's getting TV time because his career is the back end of it, I guess if you want to call it that, has been very I mean, the second he went to L.A., because you could tell he always wanted to be Shaq. We knew it from the set. His career went that way. It was Orlando, L.A., and you're with Kobe. I mean, your career's following. You wanted to be Superman, and it just didn't work. But you can't go play with the Lakers and not have some kind of an edge. I mean, it just didn't work out for him, and he just was never the same guy. I never thought he was really all that good.
Especially playing next to a psychopath like Kobe.
Exactly.
He's not trying to do. He on that Michael stuff.
Oh yeah.
He acts off to Michael and practice. Michael put his hands on a couple dudes.
But you know what? I said Dwight Howard was. I was never a big fan of Dwight Howard because to me he was a nice in today's NBA he'd be great. He's a nice rebounder. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has zero post game. He never had a counter move. I mean,
that
is
crazy because what he came in as, Fred, you make a great point because what the NBA has gone to now, he would have been great at this. But when he was in his prime, and even though for a minute he was the best center in the league, but he still had some flaws in his game.
When there's a number
but even
of
in his
one,
prime, they were still trying to force dudes to have their back to the basket, have moves, counter moves, just like you said. Now you don't need any of that. They're giving Clint Capella big money. All he do is go after the ball, rebound.
They call them rebounders and rim protectors. That's it. That's it.
Right. Cauley Stein, and I think every big that's getting paid now, with the exception of like a Joel Embiid and a Boogie Cousins, and even a
Karl-Anthony
in
Towns.
Denver.
Yeah.
So there's 3 or 4 exceptions in the whole league, but everybody else who's getting paid now, they probably owe a nice check and a nice thank you to somebody
Steven
like
Adams
Tyson
should be
Chandler.
very happy. Steven Adams should be just thanking those guys every day of his life.
I'm saying they all should. When Tyson Chandler walks into a room, they should all,
just
kneel and bow
yeah.
and thank him. Because when Tyson Chandler came into the league, much of the early part of his career, they were like, yo, this dude has no moves, no back to the basket game. He's not strong enough. And then he quietly went, he was the bridge into a generation where you didn't need any of that stuff. And then he became an NBA champion center. So
just for being tall, yeah.
So they owe Tyson Chandler a lot. Maybe even a Marcus Camby. But Marcus Camby could get the ball in the post. He could step out and shoot a 15. So not Marcus. He just had the body.
That's so disrespectful.
Camby did a little more. I ain't gonna do that to Camby. All right, so that's your quote of the week. Our stat of the week, man. Our stat of the week is really just a number, and that number is 5. And we have to put a $sign before that 5 because Big Baller Brand was spotted in a regular old high school gym at a volleyball game with a pop-up shop, and they were selling T-shirts for $5. We already knew that there was trouble in paradise with the dude Allen stealing a lot of money from him, with Lonzo distancing himself from the brand. But this is somebody who we criticized his price points from the door. They came out blazing. Shoes for $495. Signatures, signed shoes, $1,000, $995. T-shirts, $50. Caps, $50. Now we had pop-ups selling hoodies for $15 and T-shirts for $5. Is Uncle Var running with his tail between his legs? Is it over?
Yeah.
R.I.P. to BBB?
Yeah. It's over. I'm sorry, but if you're overpricing your stuff to the point where a pair of J's, I mean, you can get a classic pair of J's for $180, $220. I don't do that anymore, so I don't. Forgive me if my prices are off nowadays, but I could go into any Foot Locker and know, look, I know these just dropped. Let me get these for $180, $220. You're talking 2 to 3 times the price for a pair of sneakers that look like a bad knockoff pair of Kobe's. I've always said the first Lonzo Ball sneakers looked like Kobe's, and those sneakers ran for like $165. So
and the Lakers think that the shoes was tearing up his ankles and his feet. They thought they were the reasons he kept getting hurt.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad, and I think Lonzo's finally, and really not just him, all 3 of those kids, they're finally figuring out their dad has been the one that has really hurt their career. I think if LeVar really, I think if there was no LeVar and only Lonzo in the picture, the Lakers would have been a little bit more, they would have been a little bit more patient with Lonzo, especially knowing all the stuff that he had, because he has talent.
If given the choice, even though a lot of people are big on him, and I'm a fan, but if given the choice, I keep Lonzo and Dale Kuz. What you get from Kuz, you can find. That's like a running back in the NFL. You can find
you can find a stretch guy. You
what
can find a stretch
can get from Lonzo, if he lives up to his potential, that's pretty rare.
A 6'6" guard that can pass he's Jason Kiddish.
Very well.
Yeah.
He can rebound. Like he's the total package with not that great of a jump shot. But what you get from Kuz, I mean, you can get that from pretty much any.
That's
great
what they teach bigs now. Yeah, they tell everybody now
that
from
6'10".
Yeah, you can tell a 6'10" guy now to shoot any day of the week now, but you can't teach what Lonzo has.
I think that's why they ended up keeping Kuz, though. I think, the Lakers put out there that they didn't want to lose him. Of course, you don't want to lose him, but at the same time, I think other teams might have been thinking just like me, like, well, there's no deal unless you give me Lonzo. I don't really, if it's between the two, I'll take Lonzo. So that's probably what other teams told them. So they probably didn't have the choice to choose between Lonzo and Kyle Kuzma. But yeah, man, the brand is dead. Lonzo probably out there begging Nike for a deal because he's still rocking. He's still got a pair of Nikes every time I see him. He even did that when the brand was, alive and kicking. But what you said, the dad kind of ruined all three of their careers. The problem is Lonzo's already, not the problem, but the situation is Lonzo's already in the league. He's going to a different address. He has a chance to turn it around now that he is distancing himself from the brand and a little bit from his family. He has a chance to turn it around and be what people expected him to be. Melo, even though his dad ruined him by taking him out of high school, now he wants, he plays pro. Now he wants to try to get him back in the high school so he can play college. And college teams are like, no, we're not dealing with that. The fact that he's still young and talented, he still has a shot. But the one that he really ruined was the middle dude because he needed all of the support that he could get because he was the least talented of the three. He needed to be at UCLA. He needed to be able to play well in a college atmosphere to get looks in the league because he was never the one that was going to get a look right out of high school, even if that was available to them. So he needed
He would have got a look only because his brothers turned out to be really decent.
But had he had a chance to go to UCLA, I mean, I think he would have did well in college, but he needed that. So now you took him out of college because he's on indefinite suspension for something he did. But LeVar Ball don't want to. He doesn't want them to be accountable for their actions. He didn't want them to sit out because he had it in his mind that he was one and done anyway. When I don't think that was even going to be the case with him. He just the advice they're taking just have them in very precarious situations, and the middle child is the one who might not be able to get out of it when it's all said.
Yeah. LeVar Ball is I'm going to catch the flack for it, so I'll go ahead and say it. Quite honestly, he's the definition of what you don't want a parent to be when they have a really good athlete, for a son or a daughter. I mean, to me, it's like you're trying to live a life you never lived vicariously through your kid, and in reality, just let the kid enjoy that moment. Let them be them. Let them do what they want to do with their career. And if you have to help steer them in the right direction or help them build a brand, help them build the brand. Don't try to just completely take over their lives because it comes off like he just controls everything, and it's almost overbearing.
Because for me, I'm never, I'm always objective. I can listen to both sides, and I think there's some good things to LeVar, and I definitely think there's some bad things to LeVar. So everything isn't just this one cookie cutter little situation for me. But he did too much as far as the control that he wielded over these guys, and. I watched their little, not YouTube, but their little Facebook show, their little reality show. And when all of this stuff went down, you can tell, like, in those boys' eyes that a lot of this stuff they weren't really comfortable with, but I think they had an issue telling their dad no. They had an issue, whether it was just an issue telling them no or they just trusted him, like, well, he's brought us this far, so we'll just keep believing in him. But there was some stuff, like taking these guys out of high school, taking them out of college, having them play overseas and all that kind of stuff. There was some stuff during these conversations when you were like, yo, this kid doesn't really want to do this. But they're going to do it because they're not going to tell their dad no, and then they're going to get on TV, get interviewed, and say that they were in 100%, their dad is a genius, blah, blah, blah. Now you got Melo fighting to get into college and probably has to go overseas again, which he did announce that he was going to do. You have Jello telling everybody who will listen, yeah, I'm going to play in the G League, but ain't nobody checking for you in the G League right now.
Yeah,
so
nobody's checking for the G League. So, it's not. It's bad.
Doesn't mean much. So, yeah, it got kind of bad. But shout out to them. I don't want to see anybody fail, especially a black man. So I hope something could be salvaged. Maybe they can get the brand started again. Maybe they could be more sensible with the price points. You know what I'm saying? Vet the people that helped him out a little more, and then maybe he can lure Lonzo back in to be the pitch man for it. But we shall see, man. So good luck to you, VAR. Them shirts went from $50 to $5. There's something wrong here. All right, so real quick, because we're about to get some quick while y'all on the grind topics, and then we're going to go into our quick slants segment for the remainder of the show. But y'all know y'all can check out the website at warroomsports.com. While you're there, just take your time, look around, do some clicking, do some scrolling, and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to talk with us while we're on the air today, you can hit us in the JW Philly Realty chat room. Skyview and Neil holding that down as usual. But you can do that by signing up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to do that, you can sign into your Facebook and Twitter accounts. But while you're at it, make sure you click follow so you know everything that's going on with the show in any given week. We'll also be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, the chat room, the War Room Sports Game Time group on the GroupMe app. But if you want to call in and speak with us, the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline is open for a few more minutes. That number is 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. But if you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. But in the meanwhile, we're going to talk about what happened this week while you guys were on the grind. And On the Grind segment is brought to you by Sports the Book. If you guys are tired of reading the same old sports books and, hey, tired of being on social media with the same old lists, rankings, imaginary starting lineups, comparisons of the same 2 and 3 players, and all kind of subjective information is being passed off as quote-unquote facts. I'm so tired of that hashtag. Be sure to pick up your copy of Sports. Smart people only read the sports. It's a mixture of sports and hip-hop culture. Will keep you on the edge of your seat and keep you laughing like you were watching a comedy special. So just go to sportsthebook.com or get your copy from our website at warroomsports.com. Just don't miss that movement. All right. This week, while you guys were on the grind, this is what happened. We got some crazy stuff happening this week. One positive thing, at least as far as we're concerned, I'm pretty sure everybody listening won't agree. The Colin Kaepernick Nike ad that, the other side was all up in arms about, that ad has been nominated for an Emmy. I've been out of the loop, Fred, because I didn't even know commercials could get nominated for an Emmy. But the title, Dream Crazy, yeah, that joint with alongside other sports legends like LeBron, Serena, whatever, has been nominated for a 2019 Emmy. It's nominated alongside entries from Netflix, Apple, and Sandy Hook Promise, which is a gun violence prevention organization. So, yeah, the Emmy has a category for everything. So shout out to Colin Kaepernick, shout out to Nike. This was the face of their 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. So good luck to them with that. Next, while y'all were on the grind, Fred, I know you've heard Ryan Hollins on TV talking about NBA basketball. There is a change.org petition where thousands of people have already signed to remove Ryan Hollins from ESPN programming. People are tired of his hot takes. They said he doesn't have the ability to speak coherently, debate reasonably, and argue valid points. They say that's almost as bad as his ability to play professional basketball. For his career, he averaged 3.7 points, 2 rebounds. and he is damn near a 7-footer. He does regular appearances on First Take with Screaming A. Smith and Max Kellerman. What are your thoughts about this? A petition to get him off the air.
Man, that was crazy, man, because I see some of his hot takes. He's one of those guys. At first, I used to say, because he talks other sports, I say, stick to basketball. Now I don't even want him sticking to basketball.
Now people are like, stick to nothing, man. Be fired.
Stick to nothing. To the point, and like I like some of these personalities that are on TV. Some people kind of give me a little flack. Every now and then I like the Skip Baylesses of the world because they just give out some. It's not for. I don't take it seriously. It's just something. I just want to hear something. I just want to hear something crazy.
Where it's just entertainment.
Yeah, it's just entertainment for me. The Colin Cowherds of the world, some of those guys, they give good. It's some kind of. It's just good banter. But the guy I like the most because he keeps it very, very, very 100 is Steven Jackson. He actually had a video that came out, and he was like, he went in on Ryan Hollins and Damon Jones, and it was just like. Stay off. If you can't even average 3 points a game, who are you to talk about anything? And we know how he feels about. He pulls no punches. He's very, very honest on tape, on camera or not on camera. And for me, I agree because I need Ryan Hollins off the TV. I need him to go sit all the way down, all the way down.
Y'all are crazy, man. I've listened to Ryan Hollins because I don't generally watch any of these shows because they've all been resorted to entertainment, hot takes. I mean, what we do here in the War Room, of course, we're going to entertain, we're going to be funny and stuff like that. But when we really talk about a subject, we're really going to talk intelligently about a subject. We're not just going to give you hot takes that we may or may not believe. We're going to talk sports, be objective, all of that stuff. But Ryan Hollins, because I see clips. People send me clips if conversations or topics are interesting. And then you kind of get stuck into that YouTube foxhole where the next video comes on. And, even though you don't watch these shows, some of the stuff is interesting. And at least it keeps you in the loop of the dumb stuff that they are saying. Ryan Hollins says some of the most absolute stupid things that I've ever heard anybody say in regards to an NBA conversation. And that's saying a lot because I've manned the War Room Sports Facebook page for the past 9.5 years. So that's saying a lot. He is completely ass at what he does. However, I'm not going to sign no petition to get the man's livelihood taken away. If y'all don't like him being ass, don't tune in. But to try to single him out and get him fired, that's kind of crazy because I don't think – I guess their takes are better than his, but I don't think the two dudes he's on there talking with is especially doing anything great either. Stephen A. Smith just yells and gathers spit in his mouth and
don't forget he lets people know that
that sky view and talks about his sources and all of that stuff. So, they're not, Max Kellerman says some off-the-wall stuff every now and again. They're all prisoners of the moment. Like, somebody has 3 good games and, now they're in the conversation with Mike and Wilt and all of those guys. So they all say crazy stuff. And Ryan Hollins is absolutely egregiously terrible at what he does. But I wouldn't support because it was sent to me. I'm like, I'm not going to sign this, man. Like, dude is terrible, but, if he gets fired, let that be on his own volition, not because the people stood up to do something. There's a whole lot more important things that nobody's standing up for than Ryan Hollins saying stupid stuff on TV. So, shout out to him. I don't know how long you're going to have your job with everybody up in arms about you, but do your thing while you got it. Maybe the Big 3 thing will work out. He is a member of that. Moving on, Clutch co-founder Rich Paul, agent to the stars, LeBron's homie, he's going to lead a sports division at United Talent Agency. Now, that's basically a Hollywood talent agency. They're starting a sports division, and I think United Talent Agency actually bought stakes in Clutch Sports as well. So basically, they're absorbing Clutch, and he's going to run it. He's going to run their talent agency while still keeping the Clutch brand, but UTA does own a part of Clutch now. They didn't even get into the specifics of what the percentage was because they still want that to be Rich Paul, LeBron James. They want them to be the face of that. But this is kind of big. Like, this is the first time they're doing anything with sports, and we all know that everything that Rich Paul and the Clutch boys are doing, it's been, people have been taking notice, whether it's a positive notice or if it's a negative notice. People have taken notice. So this is big, man. And it just goes back to, definitely needing to be shouted out, man. You got to shout out what LeBron has done in the position that he's put his friends in, long term. Even when he's long gone from the game, these guys are still in the position to be big time in the game, around the game, even without him. But we know how it's going to go when he retires, though, Fred. He's just going to finally be partners in all of this stuff. Because right now you basically have to divest because you're still playing in the league. It's a conflict of interest. But he definitely set these guys up to do some good things, man. Jimmy always talks about how Rich Paul and Maverick Carter, they're in the running for the all-time Gail Award. We know how Oprah put on Gayle King. She's like the greatest best friend ever, and LeBron's friends are in that conversation. So what's your thoughts? Running sports
greatness.
Division in UTA. It's big stuff.
Yeah, greatness. I mean, what you're doing is you're just setting up a precedent for more of this to happen because they're the first. But if at some point they're opening up that door for more, and LeBron's done it too. I mean, you're opening up that door for more and more athletes to finally branch out from doing, the typical stuff and actually opening up different things for different opportunities for different players. So I applaud LeBron, Clutch, all of those guys because those guys could have done anything. They could have went sideways at any point and done some craziness with their money and the influence. They could have just said, LeBron, we don't want to do this. We want to go the car route. We want to do some cheap movie. We want to do this or that. But they've invested his money and he's invested his trust, and those two things have to go together because he's trusting them with his money essentially. So it's a good marriage as far as business wise.
Yeah, no doubt. The Clutch boys win again. All right, so the ratings for Madden 20 have come out, and there's a lot of players out here. Players really take this stuff seriously because I've seen so many videos on IG, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff with people very upset about their ratings. Back to these Dallas Cowboys because DeMarcus Lawrence is so upset about his 89 rating that he's basically called for Cowboys fans to boycott Madden.
I saw that.
He said, and I quote, "Hold up, EA Sports. You're not just going to disrespect me like that with an 89 and get away with it. Put some respect on my name. Until then, Cowboys Nation is on Madden strike." And then he said, "At Dallas Cowboys Nation, show them we ain't playing, bitch." First of all, if these dudes been playing Madden for 20 years, there ain't no way that they care about not playing because of your rating. And if they do, why would you want? Now, I'm still in this. This is things I saw on the internet this week. And now, why would DeMarcus Lawrence want to, deprive Cowboys fans of the only possible success that they're gonna have, winning the Super Bowl on Madden and stuff like that? Why would you do that to Cowboys fans? You think there's anybody out there in Cowboys Nation that's actually going to go through with this, Fred?
Nah, not really. My advice to these players: go in the game. There's a nice little edit button. You can edit your player. You can be a 99 overall. You can run a 4.2. You have Jerry Rice's hands. You can have Calvin Johnson's height. You could throw like Tom Brady. I mean, you can do it all. Go in and make an edit. That's all.
That's all you got to do.
Easy peasy.
Stop being out there, being Ralph Tresvant, being all sensitive and all that kind of stuff because of what they made you on the game.
I will say,
really not that serious.
I will say that some of the ratings are a little bit egregious because I guess I would be the resident gamer here, and Madden's kind of it used to be my thing. I've kind of gone away because the game's kind of fallen off over the years. But when I look at the ratings, and I know how the ratings work, so it's a number, it's a nice number, and I know how that number gets there. But looking at who some of those top guys, I'm sorry, they're a prisoner of the moment type of company, EA Sports that is. Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. 1 year does not tell me Pat Mahomes is better than Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, or Aaron Rodgers. He might fit in the middle. DeMarcus Lawrence, Joey Bosa, better than you. Jadeveon Clowney, probably better than you. Myles Garrett, definitely better than you. He's along the lines of those guys like a Melvin Ingram. That's where he kind of belongs. From right now, based on their ratings, J.J. Watt, Calais Campbell, and Cameron Jordan are ahead of him. Cameron Jordan's a 91. So you're splitting hairs here of who's better than you.
They have him in the same spot. They got like a Brandon Graham from Philly.
Yeah.
And
as a matter of fact,
he's probably a little better than Brandon.
And Brandon Graham is right behind Myles Garrett, who's only 2 points higher than him, and then there's Aaron Donald, who's in the 99 club. Melvin Ingram's an 88. And the thing is with that particular game, they don't differentiate the difference between. We don't call guys like Khalil Mack. He's not a linebacker. We call them edge players. That's it. That's what you call. He doesn't have a specific position because he can play with his hand in the dirt, or he can drop back and stand on his feet. So it's like they haven't gotten that far yet. So that changes everything. So Don't take it so seriously. The only one I took a little too serious is the guy that's at quarterback. My guy won a Super Bowl, beat the guy twice that is ahead of him. Yeah, he can't.
Oh, Fred, he's 85 years old.
Hey.
Buddy. Man, like Marcus Lawrence. Oops. Didn't mean to do that again.
Speaking of 85 years old, that whole face thing, the whole face app thing that was going on, that's the craze. I saw a picture of Tom Brady as that, and I'm like, how your quarterback looks at his age still winning Super Bowls. I was like, that's very, very accurate. That's the only one.
He had like 17 rings on his hands.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Gray hair and all that, still throwing touchdowns. That was great. That was the one that was the most accurate. So, yeah, but these Madden ratings are nothing. They change dynamically throughout the year. Who's to say somebody's not going to have a really good season and, they become a 99 overall or whatever, and who says Patrick Mahomes is going to have a great? Okay, he's going to have a great year. Okay, he's going to have a great year. Okay, I've went a little too far.
My bad. So before we get out of While Y'all on the Ground, we just want to give a rest in peace shout out to former pound for pound king Pernell Whitaker, one of the greatest boxers in history. He was killed on Sunday night when he was hit by a car in Virginia Beach. He was 55 years old. The VA Beach Police Department said the incident remains an active investigation, but apparently he was hit by a car around 10 p.m. on Sunday when he was walking at an intersection. They said when officers arrived on the scene, they located him, but he succumbed to his injuries while on the scene. So shout out, rest in peace to Sweet Pea, one of the best who'd ever done it, one of the best defensive fighters that we've ever seen. It's crazy that kind of stuff happens. Like, you've been through the life that you've been through. You've been in the ring, having wars with people. You've been champion in 4 different divisions, and then you die crossing the street. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. That kind of reminds me of Prodigy from Mobb Deep. Like, all the tough talk that you've talked, all the people that you've shot and killed in your verses, all the guns that you've carried in your life, and you died choking on an egg. Like, come on, P gotta go out tougher than that. But shout out to both of those brothers. But shout out to Sweet P, Purnell. Rest in peace, good brother. So let's get these birthday shout-outs out of the way so we can get into Quick Slants. Birthdays are brought to you by no one. I guess your mama is your sponsor because she was the one who had you. So we want to give some quick birthday shout-outs. Having a birthday this week, we got, who do we have? We got Canelo Alvarez talking about boxing. He turns 29 years old. Shout out to him. Deion Branch, former New England Patriot and Super Bowl MVP. He was one of those guys that proved, Brady's greatness because once he left Brady, he fell off a cliff. Came back to Brady and had, a little bit of a spark, before they got rid of him again. So shout out to your boy, Fred, Deion Branch.
My birthday, yay!
Deion Branch turns, how old is Deion Branch? He's 40. Torrey Hunter, MLB fame. He's 44 years old. Derek Anderson, not the quarterback Derek Anderson, but the former shooting guard from Kentucky and the NBA. Derek Anderson turns 45 years old. That's crazy because Derek Anderson is 45, and the next guy, Penny Hardaway, who could have been one of the greatest.
Oh, yeah.
He turns 47. Now, if you would have asked me, I thought I would have told you that Derek Anderson was a lot younger than Penny, than 2 years. But when you think about it, Derek Anderson, he was on that championship Kentucky team in '96. So I believe he might have come out. I don't know if he was in the '96 draft class or the '97 draft class, but he just seems like he would be much younger than Penny, not just 2 years. But shout out to Penny Hardaway, who turns 47. Nick Faldo, the golfer, he's 62. And Joe Torre, former manager of those New York Yankees, turns 79 years old. We'd like to give a War Room salute to all of these folks on their birthday and their birthday week. And if you've been on the phone line, because I know we had some, but we had to get through because we're going into a whole new edition of Quick Slants, and we're only talking college football. So if you're calling in from this point on in the show, you got to make sure it's about college football. We're not taking any calls on anything else. So real quick, you guys can check out our website, warroomsports.com, if you want to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics. Dial a digital, if you want to talk about college football, dial the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline, 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. But if you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. All right. So it's time to get into this college football rap, which is brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. And if you need a little bit of help financially, financing options are available. Just call 267-205-4203 or visit digitalextremetech.com. For discounted rates, be sure to tell them War Room Sports sent you. All right, everybody, near and far, college football fans, we'd like to welcome you to another edition of Quick Slants, where we talk nothing but college football. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan, if you needed a reminder. And I'm here with my partner. We got Fred Perdue in the building. It's college football time. Fred, what's up?
Man, after a very calm week, I really, I always look at media days as one of those that unofficial start, especially SEC media day, as the unofficial start to the college football season, where all the rankings and the polls and predictions, all the stuff that we're going to say, oh, we were wrong, like 6 months from now, all the stuff all these predictions of who's going to finish first and who's going to finish last, and some of these we know, but all that stuff we're going to be wrong about later. It's fun to talk about. All of this happens right now, but it came and went so quickly, and it was so calm. Most of these coaches kept their silence for the most part, and outside of Steve Spurrier going on some rant about some average quarterback who only completes 59% of his throws, despite going into his junior year, potentially winning a Heisman. I stopped listening at him winning a Heisman, but and him not even coaching anybody. But that's one of those things that you always get some quote that really just makes you laugh, or if it's Nick Saban, where he just, Nick Saban's that old man that he can get off my lawn, stops putting that stuff on my lawn, or hey, you kids, stop doing that, until his little grandson does it. Oh, that's the coolest thing in the world. And it's the same thing. Hey, we don't need college football expansion, or Clemson's this or Clemson's that, or we don't need this. We need this to change as far as rules. And then he starts going along with the rules. I hate the spread offense. What are we doing? We're running up tempo spread offense now. So it's always fun to see.
All right. So before we get into the sights and sounds and some highlights from these media days, Fred, I want to remind everybody. Now, we haven't done it yet, but you have to stay tuned into upcoming episodes of Quick Slants. Just go to the War Room Sports Podcast Network at warroomsports.com. But we need you to stay tuned, because we will be dropping information in the coming weeks about this year's college football pick'em contest. So make sure you stay in the loop, so you can get yourself in that game. We'll announce what the prizes are going to be and all of that jazz. So just wanted to give that reminder before we got into sights and sounds. Fred, this is a freestyle conversation.
One more. You forgot one. I got to throw the flag on you before we. Yeah, we got a little bit extra. We got a little bit of extra piece. We have,
I've always
liked
this year.
Yeah, everyone says fantasy they love fantasy football at the NFL level. Well, we want to help the college folks out. So we have college football, fantasy football here. We'll make sure we make some posts about it, but I haven't done one of these before, so this will be very interesting to see how I do against the field, because we all know it's me against the field at all times. So I encourage you guys to see, go sign up. We'll make sure we put all of that stuff out on social media. The draft date is actually going to be the Monday before the season starts, so that'll be, I think, the 18th. If I remember correctly, it's the 17th or the 18th, but all that information will get put up very soon once everything is completely confirmed, and we have some nice prizes for you guys. Who knows? Well, if you win, you might actually have a chance to come host a show with us. We've never done that before. Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, this is totally on you, because I know, this is your wheelhouse. You were glued to what was happening at these podiums behind these microphones. Sights and sounds of media days. Give us some highlights.
Oh man, when I look at the media days that came and went so quickly, I look at first the SEC, and we all know the SEC is the cream of the crop. That's when the season starts. They're not the first to go, but they're definitely they're usually about the third day because everybody has their media days around the same time. They overlap, and it's a lot to take in. I wish I could be everywhere at one time, but when I look at Auburn, you look at Gus Malzahn saying he's brought Derek Brown, Derek Brown is just a monster of a man. He's going to be one of those top draft picks as long as he doesn't get hurt or anything crazy. He's going to be one of those top defensive linemen that always come out of the SEC. They call that a defensive brotherhood down there, defensive lineman Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson. Those guys are really going to tear it up down there, but they have quarterback issues. Jarrett Stidham's gone, but they're talking national championship. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I think the offense is going to struggle a little bit until they figure things out. On the other side, their rival Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa said that he's happy that they He saw the glass as being half full versus half empty after losing to Clemson. He said he learned something from it. I think he's trying to spin it in a positive way. For me, when I saw him last year, I said, man, he needs to check it down a little bit instead of being just it's bombs away for him, and I think he learned that a little bit more towards the end. And
right.
Alabama-Clemson is becoming a rivalry. Can you believe I said that? Alabama and Clemson, because they've never really played before now, it's becoming a rivalry, and who knows, we may see a regular season game at some point, but for now, you guys got to wait until the national championship game, and I'm not making any picks, but it's assumed those two will meet up at some point at the end of the year. Tennessee is quietly trying to build something. Jeremy Pruitt is making some real moves. Quarterback is now solidified. I think the one thing that's going to be a challenge for them is on the defensive side. Trey Smith is a really good offensive lineman for them. Offensively, I think they're going to put up points, but defensively, that's where they're going to struggle a little bit. Georgia, nothing more than the typical Kirby Smart. Very close to the vest, not a lot of talk. They have some big name players. Jake Fromm is going to his junior year.
Big Jake.
Yeah, he's for me. They have to get over that hurdle that Georgia always has. They find ways to lose games, and Tobias knows this is more than anybody. I mean, they cough away games. They just choke them away so badly. It's not even funny. So in the ACC, the national champs, Clemson Tigers, they were very quiet on things. I think Dabo Swinney's learning, enjoy the moment, but then keep grinding, a couple days after it's back to it. Although one of their offensive linemen, I think his name is Jordan Simmons, said that Notre Dame was better than Alabama, and well, you might have messed up, big fella, because you don't ever talk about Nick Saban, especially and his team. You don't say things so disrespectful. That's just disrespectful. Don't be disrespectful to Alabama, because at some point you may have to eat those words, and you never know. Don't slip up. But they have a really potent offense coming back. Florida State in the ACC, they're looking to rebound, maybe forget all of last year, because Willie Taggart and company, they struggled mightily. They're off. You know how we talk about offensive lines are always the meat and potatoes of a team. You need that offensive line. Well, Florida State needs one. They have one of the best running backs in the country, but no one knows who he is because they have no offensive line. Their quarterback situation is bad. But they have a bright spot at wide receiver. Tamari and Terry was there, and he's on the Biletnikoff watch list. If you haven't seen him, you probably haven't, because Florida State's passing game was terrible. But when they did hit, he was on the other end of things. Reminds me a lot of Josh Gordon before the alcohol and the drugs. He reminds me so much of Josh Gordon. It's not funny.
Real quick, let me take you back to Tua, because I do have his comments here. I have one quote. He said, quote, "But I'm glad I had the opportunity to feel a loss like that," talking about losing to Clemson in the national championship game, "because what can you learn from winning? You can't learn as much, but when you lose, you start appreciating things a lot more. Many lessons have been learned from that loss." I wanted to get back to that just to see, because you glossed over it, but I wanted to get your thoughts about, does he have a point, or is it too late to talk like that since you've already come in and won a national championship? Is it too late to talk like that? Or does he have a point considering he's still in college, so maybe he's talking about this ideology for moving forward because, he hasn't hit the big time yet, and he's going to have a lot of lessons to learn.
I think that is a good lesson for him, because if you ever look at these quarterbacks that are, and really teams in general that have so much success, they lose one or two games and then they go through a little bit of adversity and they don't know how to handle it. I.e., USC with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. They never knew what it was like to lose until Texas. When you get hit in the mouth like that, Nick Saban even said it, that they didn't have the same intensity, they didn't have the same respect for Clemson, and I think he's just kind of taking taking the blame for it like every coach does. But for me, when I look at it, I say Tua's going to learn that he has to stay in the moment and be happy in the moment that he's there. He actually lost a little bit of weight. He was playing at about 230 last year. He's only about 6'1", 6'2", so he was playing a bit heavy. So he says he feels a little bit better. So I think he's putting more energy into being the best version of him he can be. And it's, a lot of these great players, and I really don't throw that word great around much, but as far as a college quarterback, he's pretty great. And they all have this chip on their shoulder. They create things in their head they're just built different. It's the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant kind of deal where everybody's slighting them, so they have to learn something from it. So he's created something in his mind where he's learned something. And you don't ever want to lose a game the way they lost the game. And I can see
but it is humbling for guys who are never picked to lose, who don't lose much, and have already been in this position. So I think, lessons could definitely be learned from it if he's sincere. Like I said, sometimes these athletes get in front of a camera, get in front of a microphone, and say what they think we want to hear. They get trained to say certain things. But if he means that, then there's definitely a lesson that could be learned from that. When you're not used to losing, you're about to go to a level where it's not going to be sweet like that every week. So you are going to have to figure out how you deal with taking losses in certain weeks. So
definitely,
you can learn a lot from it.
Definitely. The one thing that stuck out to me throughout all of these media days, the only one I really didn't get a chance to catch yet is going to be, and I'll be reviewing the tape from these. I take certain quotes seriously, but most of it is just coach speak. A lot of the reporters, they don't really ask the questions you want them to ask, or they ask questions that are so irrelevant to the real headlines. So, real questions. Real
kind of
questions
like Super Bowl media day.
Yeah. Questions I don't care about Nick Saban's hip and can he play golf. I don't care. I want to know about that next D lineman. I want to know about the processes that are going on and what is being changed, new coaches. Those are the things I want to know about. But in the Big 12, Lincoln Riley he's being tongue in cheek about it, but he said that the quarterback position, Jalen Hurts, the former Alabama quarterback, he doesn't have the job yet. And we all know he has the job right now. The only opposition he has is a sophomore, as well as a true freshman in Spencer Rattler, who was the number one quarterback in the country. But are you really believing that a senior is not a guy that transferred in and he's a senior is not going to start? I'm willing to bet, but you have to give everybody a chance. He has to earn it in air quotes, but that was the interesting part there.
Right.
And
you're a senior, promises had to be made before you make that move.
Yeah. You're not just going there because he could have gone anywhere in the country he wanted to. He had places like Miami, Clemson, as a backup insurance plan. He also had places like North Carolina, Arkansas. He could have went to Auburn. He could have went to Florida. He could have went anywhere. Ohio State was even an option before Justin Fields got there. So, when you have options like that and Oklahoma says, look, you're going to start, you just got to show up to practice pretty much. So I think he'll actually benefit from that if he wants to go to the NFL, because you have a chance to be the third straight Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, that offense is loaded. They have two really good running backs. They have a 5-star wide receiver in Hazelwood coming in. He's a monster in himself. CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they have pieces there offensively, but Lincoln Riley did say that the defense just has to get better. They showed up in big moments, but I mean, for me, showing up in big moments is not letting Texas drop 27 27 points on you in the Big 12 championship game. That's not showing up big, but they made a stop. If you consider that getting a stop when you need it, sure. I mean, your offense is going to put up at least 35 plus. So, but speaking of Texas, the Big 12 actually got something right. And, I don't ever support the conferences because they always have things against these players. But they're letting the kids have a little fun. So typically in the Big 12, any opposing team that scores a touchdown, they put the hook'em horns, they point them down, and it's a celebration. And the Big 12 said it's okay to do it, but don't do it at Texas. Don't openly do it at Texas because they'll call a penalty. So I guess they halfway got it right. These are little things that I personally don't care about as far as media days are concerned because they don't affect the game for the most part. Unless you're Will Greer and you're doing hook'em horns, pointing it down, and you're costing West Virginia 15-yard penalties on the kickoff. Those are things that bother you. But you have new coaches in the Big 12. Les Miles is back. He's at Kansas. He had a really awkward moment where one of his returning running backs is being he's kind of off. He's on the team, but he's not on the team. He's in trouble for domestic violence against a female, and he had to read a statement, and it was really awkward because instead of just coming off the, when you come from the heart on something like that, all you have to say is, look, we don't tolerate things like that violence against women. We want to get him as much help as possible. If he's guilty or whatever it is you have to say that versus saying a prepared statement and then you're stumbling through the statement like you haven't read it already. It was really awkward. So Les Miles not a good start. TCU still
circling you back to Tua, but you got a question in the chat room from Skyview 1, and he says, "Is Tua a pro caliber prospect?" Now he puts "pro" in all caps. So is he a pro? Basically, what he's saying.
I've struggled with this one because I've had prisoner of the moment times with him. At times I see Russell Wilson 2.0, and then at times I'm like, he's gonna be a bust. I think it's somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I think because quarterbacks get pushed up. And what's coming out next year isn't going to be as good as it was last year, and we don't know if last year's good yet. Ask me that in 3 years. He'll be a pro, but is he going to be good? Ask me that in 3 years.
Right. And speaking of just his physical attributes, he's listed at 6'1", 218 pounds. Do you even think he's a legitimate 6'1"?
Yeah, he's a legit 6'1". He's tall enough that the height isn't the problem. Physically, he can spin the football. He has a good enough arm. The issues I have with him are he tries to take the big play too much instead of just, and I know you're gonna hate this one, but my guy Tom Brady, the one thing he does, if nothing's there, what does he do? He checks it down. He's going to make the smart play and check it down because if you can't, my favorite saying, and you can apply this to any aspect of life, sports, business, whatever, you can't go broke making a profit. So if I'm getting 4 to 5 yards every single time, you can't stop me. So why not instead of throwing that deep down the field interception or tough throw in between 3 people, just take this little check down and go get 5 yards. Go get 3 yards and just nickel and dime your way down the field. Tom Brady's made a living off of it. 6 Super Bowls later. Okay, that's enough about Tom Brady. But yeah, that's the only issue I have with him. Is he just won't. Sometimes you just have to nickel and dime guys down the field.
All right, so your final thoughts about media days, because we got to get up out of here. But give me some final thoughts.
This one was quiet this time around. I'm usually expecting something crazy, some kind of crazy quotes. Nick Saban was very mum about everything. South Carolina and Alabama are actually playing this year, and there was some banter back and forth. Nick Saban kind of praised Will Muschamp, but the last time they played, South Carolina whipped their tails, and Saban's not going to let his players forget it. New Miami head coach Manny Diaz talked about quarterbacks. They have about 4 guys in the running for that position, and things are going to change. They're calling it the new Miami. They just had a camp down south couple weeks ago. They brought all the legends back, as they always do, the Michael Irvins, the Warren Sapps, the Gino Torettos, the Jim Kellys of the world. The who's who on any NFL team from the late 90s to early 2000s, even the 80s, you know, those guys were there, and they're not just being there hanging around, they're coaching those camps. And I think Manny Diaz is really trying to change the culture. I'll believe it when I see it, because I've seen this story before.
All right, so do you agree, switching gears, no Molly Querim, do you agree with the assertion that Michigan will be the favorites in the Big Ten this year? Or have we heard this story before?
I think we've heard this story before.
All right, just checking with you before we get up out of here.
Yeah, I think we've heard this story before, so, you know, it's one of those things. I think you can kind of.
Fred, you cut out. Can you hear me? Chat room folks, can you still hear me? Because I can't hear Fred. Either way, college football fans, thank you for, you know, joining us again for another edition of Quick Slants. You can definitely check out future episodes of the show as college football season gets closer to us. You can check out future episodes of the show at warroomsports.com. Just click on that War Room Sports Podcast Network tab. And if you're an NFL fan, make sure you also check Fred and I out at Cover 2. That is the NFL show, Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. But until next time, college football fans, we are out of here. All right. And for all of you fans of everything, all of you fans of the War Room, we'd like to thank you guys for joining us for another briefing in the War Room this evening. Shout out to everyone on the chat room, Facebook, Twitter, War Room Sports Game Time on the GroupMe app, and all the callers who called in to holler at us. I know there were some people still on the lines that we couldn't get to. Once we switched into strictly college football mode, we couldn't take any more calls on, you know, the other sports, so we apologize, and hopefully we can get to you guys next week. So tune in next week, live right here on demand, as we catch you up on everything happening around the world of sports. Until then, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the start of next week, and we'll see you right back here next time. Be sure to catch our conversations on Facebook, Twitter, as well as our blogs, webcasts, and network podcasts on warroomsports.com. Also, make sure you pick up a copy of Jimmy's book at sportsthebook.com or warroomsports.com. Jimmy and B. Austin will be back with us next week, so never fear. The War Room Generals will be here. And special shout out to Fred Purdue for helping me steer this puppy tonight. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top.
Jimmy, know the blueprint. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Bay on replay. warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like magic in the block push. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop scholars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC, royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, DJ, Jack Beck, B. Austin. I'm Jack. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports. www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.